Today, we are going to talk about the subject political science. Today, we are going to talk about the subject political science. So, the name of our first lesson is Meaning and Scope of Political Science. The name of our first lesson is Meaning and Scope of Political Science. First of all, I would like to give an outline of this class and the objectives of this lesson. Mainly, there are three objectives in this lesson. First one, to explain the meaning of political science in the light of some standard definitions. So, first of all, we are learning about the meaning of political science in the light of some standard definitions. Second one, distinction between political science and politics. The difference between political science and politics. The third one, to describe the scope of political science in terms of the role of state, functions of government, and its relationship with citizens. Thirdly, we are learning about the scope of political science. And finally, to recognize the relevance of justice for citizens and state. Justice is a concept in political science. So, we are learning the relevance of justice for citizens and state. This is all about the basic objectives of this lesson. And before moving to our class, I just want to give I just want to discuss about political science as a preface. So, political science. There are different views or insights regarding the study of and modern view. In traditional view, the political science begins and ends with the state. In traditional view, the political science begins and ends with the state. So, it is considered as the study of state and government. According to the traditional view, political science is the study of state and government because it ends and begins with the state. Another view is the modern view. In this modern view, the political science lays emphasis on its being the study of power and authority. In modern view, political science lays emphasis on its being on the study of power and authority. So, what is power? Power is the ability to do something. Power is the ability to do something. And authority means the right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. So, in modern view, the political science lays on the study of power and authority. And political science also explains its ever-widening scope. There's a lot of scope in the study of political science. And its scope includes the study of state and the study of political system. The scope includes the study of state and the study of political system, covering the study of government. So, political science is also the study of government because it has a ever-widening scope. The study of government includes various forms of government. We know that there's various forms of government like presidential form of government, parliamentary form of government, monarchical form of government, and military form of government. In a presidential form of government, the president is the head of the state, and in the parliamentary form of government, the parliament or the prime minister is the head of the government, and in a monarchical form of government, the king is the royal head or the head of the state, and in a military form of government, the military leader is the head of the state. So there's a various forms of government. In political science, we are also dealing with various study of governments, etc. And again, its scope includes the study of power. The study of power means the study of man and his political behavior, and study of political issues which influence politics directly or indirectly. So in this lesson, we will study some of the core concepts like justice and its relevance to its citizens. Okay, we'll learn about, we'll move to the first important point of our lesson, that is the meaning of political science. The meaning of political science. Political science is that part of social science which deals with the foundations of the state and the principles of the government. Political science is that part of social science. So, political science means a part of social science which deals with the foundations of the state and the principles of the government. So, what is the social science? Social science is the systematic study of all aspects of human condition and human behavior. Simply means social science is study of man and society. Once again, social science is a systematic study of all aspects of human condition and human behavior, and it is the study of man and society. So here, political science is a part of social science, which deals with the foundations of the state and the principles of the government. So political science deals with the foundations of the state and the principles of the government. And here we can see a lot of definition by famous political scientists. The first one, J.W. Garner. He was an American professor in political science. So according to J.W. Garner, politics begins and ends with the state. According to J.W. Garner, politics begins and ends with the state. Similarly, R.G. Gettel wrote that politics is the study of the state in the past, present, and future. R.G. Gettel also was an American professor in political science. He states that politics is the study of the state in the past, present, and future. Not only learning about the state in present, but also past and future, etc. Another famous political scientist is Harold J. Lasky. According to Harold J. Lasky, he stated in the same vein that the study of politics concerns itself with the life of men and women in relation to organized state. The study of politics concerns itself with the life of men and women in relation to organized state. Thus, as a social science, political science deals with those aspects of individuals in society which relate to their activities and organizations devoted to seeking of power, resolution of conflicts, and all these within an overall framework of the rule and law as laid down by the state. Once again, the political science deals with those aspects of individuals in society which relate to their activities and organization devoted to seeking of power, resolution of conflicts, and all these within an overall framework of the rule and law as laid down by the state. Is it clear? Okay. Now, the changing meaning of political science. The term politics is derived from the Greek word polis, which means city-state. It is very important. The term politics is derived from the Greek word polis, which means city-state. So from which Greek word the term politics is derived? It is the term polis, which means city-state. Okay, don't forget it. That is why many commentators, as you saw, rightly define politics in terms of the state or government. That's why the commentators or the political scientists use the term politics as something related to the word state and government. However, this definition does not exhaust the meaning of politics because the term politics has many other meanings also. Politics also deals with power. Politics also deals with power. What is power? Power is the ability to do something. And politics deals with power. Here we can see two famous political scientists and political philosopher, that is Harold D. Lasswell and Abraham Kepler. Harold D. Lasswell and Abraham Kepler both define political science as the study of shaping and sharing of power. These American philosophers or political scientists state that political science as the study of shaping and sharing of power, because politics deals with power. So in a word, politics deals with both state and power. So in a one word, we can say that politics deals with both state and power. So if someone asks you about what is politics, you can definitely answer to them that it is the study of both state and power. However, the power that political science deals with is more often than not the legitimate power. Since science is the systematic study of any phenomenon through observation and experiment, it follows that political science studies the state and power in all their aspects. Here we can see the definition of science. So, what does science mean? Science is the systematic study of any phenomenon through observation and experiment. Science is the systematic study of any phenomenon through observation and experiment. And here, political science also follows this method. Political science studies the state and power in all their aspects. And we will learn more about the state and power in this lesson also. Political science deals with both empirical facts and normative issues. That's very important. Political science deals with both empirical facts and normative issues. Empirical facts means it is based on observation and experiment. Empirical facts means it is based on observation and experiment. The normative way of learning is it is based on ethical or moral perspectives. Okay. Then facts are in the domain of what is, and value preferences are in the domain of what should be. Facts, it is based on the experiment and observation method. That is known as it is an empirical fact. So facts are in the domain of what is, and value are in the domain of what should be. The empirical facts are in the domain of what is, and the normative issues are in the domain of what should be. Clear? For example, if somebody says India is a parliamentary democracy, he or she is making a statement of empirical fact. If somebody says India is a parliamentary democracy, this is what India today actually is. So that statement is correct. But if she or he were to make a statement like the one that India's presidential form of democracy, the statement would be a normative one. The parliamentary democracy of India is correct because that is what India today. Again, somebody is wanted to change or switch over the presidential form of government, the parliamentary form of government to a presidential form, it would be a normative one. Political science is not satisfied with describing the state of affairs. It wants to change or improve upon them. The political science is not only satisfied with describing the state of affairs, but it also wants to change or improve upon them. The empirical statements are true or false by virtue of what observation shows to be the case. The empirical statements are true or false by virtue. And the evaluative statements or the normative statements are ethical or moral imperatives, which are often said not to be true or false in any sense at all. The evaluative statements are not to be true or false, but the empirical statements are true or false by virtue. Formal statements such as the propositions of mathematics are true or false by virtue of the meanings of their constituent terms alone. In formal statements, it also true or false by virtue. Political philosophy deals with formal statements. Which deals with political philosophy? Political philosophy deals with formal statements. Political science deals with empirical statements and also evaluates the existing political institutions, practices, and focuses on how to improve them. So, political science deals with empirical statements and also evaluates the existing political institutions, practices, and focuses on how to improve them. Clear? This is all about the meaning of political science. And we can see some questions below of this passage. So I will explain all these questions. The first question is about political science deals with both dash and dash issues. Question number 1, political science deals with both dash and dash issues. So here we can see there are 3 options that are empirical, normative, formal. So the correct answer is political science deals with both empirical and normative issues. Second question, political science studies dash and dash. Political science studies dash and dash. So here we can see there's a lot of options that is society, state, nation, power, and class. So the correct answer is political science studies the state and power. State and power. Third question. The term politics is derived from the word dash. The term politics is derived from the word dash. 3 options are there. Police, and state. The term politics is derived from the Greek word polis. The answer is first option. Next question. Dash said politics begins and ends with the state. Or who said politics begins and ends with the state? Gettel, Garner, and Laswell. The correct answer is Garner. Garner said politics begins and ends with the state. The final question. Dash defined political science as the study of shaping and sharing of power. Who defined political science as the study of shaping and sharing of power? Options: Kaplan, Easton, and Garner. The correct answer is Kaplan. Okay, I hope now it's clear to you. And we are moving to the another topic of this lesson, that is the growth of the discipline of political science. The growth, that means the evolution of the discipline of political science. Systematic study of politics started with the Greeks in the 4th century BC. Systematic study of politics started with the Greeks in the 4th century BC. When did the systematic study of politics started? It is in the 4th century BC. And by whom? The Greeks. Philosophers like Plato and Aristotle used it in the most comprehensive sense. We know that philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, they were the great philosophers in Greek. They were the great philosophers in Greece. Okay. And Aristotle is considered as the father of political science. We are studying political science, and don't forget that Aristotle is considered as the father of political science. And Aristotle called politics a master science. Aristotle called politics a master science. Why he called politics as a master science? For him, for Aristotle, it comprised of not only the institutions of states and government, but also family, property, and other social institutions. According to Aristotle, it is not only constituting, that is, politics not only constituting the institutions of state or government, but also family, property, and other social institution. So, for the Greeks, politics was an all-encompassing activity. All-encompassing activity means it consists all, like their state and government, affairs of state and government, and affairs of family, property, and social institutions. The ancient Greek view about political science was mainly ethical. We discussed earlier, the ancient Greek view about political science was mainly ethical. Ethical means moral perspective. In contrast, the ancient Romans considered the legal aspect of politics more important for their governance. The Greeks considered political science was mainly ethical, and here the ancient Romans considered the politics as a legal status or legal aspect for more important to their governance. And during the Middle Ages in the Europe, political science became a branch of a religious order of the church. In Europe, during the Middle Ages is the period between AD 500 to 1500. Okay. In that period, political science became a branch of religious order of the church. That means political authority was then subordinated to the authority of the church. Greeks considered it as an ethical perspective. The ancient Roman considered it as a legal aspect. And here, during the Middle Ages, political science became a branch of a religious order. That means it is subordinated to the authority of the church. Normally, a layman or common man associate politics with party politics. If someone hearing about the term politics, they will think that it is something related to party politics. Because in India, we have a lot of political parties. And for example, like Bharatiya Janata Party, Indian National Congress, Communist Party of India or Marxist, Aam Aadmi Party. So there's a lot of national parties, regional parties, state parties, etc. So if someone heard about the term politics, they will definitely think it is something related to party politics. But as students of political science, now we know that politics is much larger than it. It is systematic study of state and power. So what is politics? Politics is the systematic study of state and power. After the Middle Ages in Europe, the state grew in size and became more complex. So political science acquired a realistic and secular or non-religious approach. So after the Middle Ages, the state grew in size and became more complex. So political science acquired a realistic and secular, non-religious approach after the Middle Ages. After the Industrial Revolution, the role of the state, which was limited to maintenance of law and order and providing defense against external aggression, underwent considerable changes with the emergence of the new economic system called capitalism. So after the Industrial Revolution means it is the rise of industries and people started to move from one area to another in search of jobs. So there were a social class emerged, that is the capitalist class and the working class. The capitalist mean the owner of the manufacturing machinery, or a capitalist mean a person who uses his wealth to invest in trade and industry for profit in accordance with the principles of capitalism. So who is a capitalist? A person who uses his wealth to invest in trade and industry for profit. And the working class or the workers mean the workers or laborers in these industries for long hours. So that is a class emerged. That is the working class and the capitalist class. Okay. In that time, the role of the state, which was limited, it is only for the maintenance of law and order and providing defense against external aggression. External aggression in the sense that it is a war, famine, and some issues related to state. And moving to the 20th century, after the Second World War, the behavioral approach offered a new dimension of political science. So, in the 20th century, after the Second World War was in the period of 1939 to 1942. 1939 to 1942. After the Second World War, the behavioral approach offered a new dimension of political science. The behavioral movement in American political science in the 1950s and in the 1960s placed a lot of emphasis on the science part of politics. So, after the Second World War, behavioral movement started in American political science in the 1950s and in the 1960s. And it gives more importance or more emphasis on the science part of politics. It wanted to model politics after the methods followed by natural sciences like physics and botany, etc. So the natural sciences or the science subjects are all based on the empirical facts. That means based on observation and experiment. So here, political science also followed the methods of natural sciences. The behavioralists built theory inductively from empirical propositions. So those who follow inductive method would come to the conclusion after study, observation, and experiment. The behavioralists built theory inductively from empirical proposition, that is based on observation and experiment. So those who follow inductive method would come to the conclusion after study, observation, and experiment. For example, when some behavioralists show African Americans or the blacks of the southern United States of America voted for the Democratic Party of the United States, they came to the conclusion that the African Americans do vote for the Democrats. This behavioral approach shifted the focus of its study from political institutions and structures to their functions. So the behavioral approach shifted the focus of its study from political institutions and structures to their functions. It placed stress on political activity and the behavior of men and women who control these institutions. So the political institutions are controlled by men and women. So it's placed stress on political activity and the behavior of them. It replaced the study of ideas by the study of facts, evidence, and behavior. So the ideas of political science learning is replaced to the facts, evidence, and behavior matters. And it considered political activity manifested in behavior as the true subject of political science. So the political activity manifested in behavior as the true subject of political science. A political activity may be in the form of an individual contesting an election. So if an individual contesting an election, it can be called a political activity. It may be the activity of a group seeking the adoption of a particular policy in its favor by the government. Or we can say that a group of people wanted a particular policy in their own favor by the government. As different people pursue different interests, such activities tend to generate disagreement, competition, and conflict. We know that people have their own desires and interests, right? So these interests or desires that leads to disagreement, that leads to competition, and that leads to conflict. So there will be a lot of problems due to these disagreements and competition. But the distinctive quality of politics is that it includes physical coercion or force by the government. That's important. The distinctive quality of politics is that the politics includes physical coercion or force by the government. It may and usually does involve the persuasive influence and afford the government to resolve conflicts through its balanced policy decisions. So, if there is a competition, if there is a disagreement that leads to conflicts, so to resolve these conflicts, the government uses coercive methods or force in a balanced policy decisions. Politics is also viewed as a process whereby individuals, groups, or communities seek to achieve their specific but conflicting goals. People have their own goals. So politics is also viewed as a process whereby individuals, Groups or communities seek to achieve their specific but conflicting goals. Politics as the process seeks to allocate resources authoritatively. Politics as the process seeks to allocate resources authoritatively. And David Easton, he was a famous political scientist in America, and he calls it values. Again, politics as the study of structures, institutions, processes, and activities recognizes the possibility of the use of power. Politics as the study of structures, institutions, processes, and activities recognizes the possibility of the use of power. Here we can see there are two types of approaches. The first one is the Marxist approach. The Marxist approach, which is derived from the writings of the 19th century German philosopher Karl Marx. It is derived from the writings of the 19th century German philosopher Karl Marx. He views politics as a study of irreconcilable conflicts between two classes, haves and the have-nots. According to Karl Marx, politics as a study of irreconcilable conflicts between two classes, the haves and the have-nots. The haves means those who have private property or simply means the rich. The have-not means those who do not have any private property or simply means the poor. In other words, the exploitators and the exploited. So in Marxist approach, Karl Marx stated that politics as a study of the conflicts between two classes. That means the have-nots and the haves. That means the rich and the poor, or the exploiters and the exploited. The emancipation of the have-nots will come only through a revolution which would put an end to the institution of private property, thus changing the class society to the classless society. I just mentioned earlier, in Industrial Revolution, there were the society divided into classes. And here also, Marx states that the society is in a form of class-based society. The haves and the have-nots, or the working class or the capitalist class. And according to Karl Marx, the only solution to eradicate the class society by revolution. But politics, as against the Marxist view, has another view also, the liberal view. So here the Marxist view states that only through a revolution which put an end to the institution of private property, thus changing the class society to the classless society. Here another view is there, that is the liberal view. The liberal view according to which politics is considered as an effort for conciliation and accommodation to bring about rule of order and justice. In the liberal view, the politics is considered as an effort for conciliation and accommodation to bring about rule of order and justice. So, in these approaches, that means the Marxist approach and the liberal approach. Incidentally, the Marxist view of politics comes as a reaction to the liberal view of politics. I mentioned the initial time of this class because political science deals with various views. And here, the Marxist view and the liberal view. The Marxist view of politics comes as a reaction to the liberal view of politics. So, that is all about today's class.